Right there. I'm sand that out though. So what I'm gonna do is to keep from having to do so much. Got this already joined. 36. I'm gonna cut that in half right there. So far, I know it's hard to hear for that air conditioner back there, vacuum cleaner, but so far here's where we are. I built a steam box today, Dream Steamer 1000. Thing in here, it says it's already hot in the box. It tells you how hot it is down here in the south, and my air conditioner's on. Alright. Oh yeah. About this piece, which I finished up sanding on. Well, I'm not finished sanding, but pretty close. And then there's this piece. This is dunnage from the railroad. I got this board here for $8 from a guy that works at the railroad company. And as you can see, white oak. What we're going to do is I'm going to get this piece milled down, cleaned up, and see can we get it into that steamer. But before we do that, we'll have to build a template for that. That's going to be the neck. We've got to build both sides of the template for it, so that should be easy enough. A little bit of, I don't know if that's stress that was in the wood or what, but I have to take my plane and knock this end down real quick. Get that done. Probably one pass should be enough. Just trying to get this. Alright, to lose as little of this as possible, I'm going to take it over here and set up the bandsaw, and I'm going to flip it the opposite direction, and I'm going to try to cut with the grain this way. It tends to bend better that way, I think, than against the grain, because I've never seen. Well, I say that you can bend wood in any direction you want to, really, but it tends to break a lot faster if you're trying to bend it with this grain here on the top and bend that grain in that direction. If you bend this grain in that direction, it doesn't tend to want to break as bad. So we're going to go and try to rip down a couple of these. And I think we're going to start out at, I'm going to start out at like 3/8. That way, by the time I get them out of the planer, we should be down to about 1/4 inch. And I think 1/4 inch is going to be just fine. I think 3 or 4 in the steamer at 1/4 inch is going to be enough to give me the 1 inch I need for the neck of this guitar stand. So I'm gonna get y'all over here to the bandsaw. And that's what we're gonna work on next, is getting this thing ripped down to 1/4 inch, 3/8, somewhere in there. There they are. 5 of them at 3/8. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them over here to the planer. At this point, I'm going to try to start running them one at a time. I don't know if y'all can see that, but got a lot of snipe in it a while ago when it dropped down, when them other pieces was in there chewing up. But I still got enough that once I get this side straightened out, I can come back and get that snipe out of it. But I'm going to run them one at a time so I don't run into the issue again. All right, y'all. It's time to get started on the templates now for this wood bending adventure. Right, there's one side of the template, and you would think that this would be the other side of the template, but it is not, because if you stretch that out, you can see that everything changes a little bit in the radius and everything. So what we've got to do is make a spacer that's going to be the thickness of what the material is that we're going to be using to bend, and that's going to be a little over 3/4, but I'm going to go with 3/4, mainly because I want it to be tight when I clamp it together, but it's not going to make that much of a difference in it one way or the other. So as long as we give it a little bit, we should be fine. We'll get this cut in half. That way we can start cutting it out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick both of them at one time to that template. Now I bought this thing at this table at a pawn shop, and I didn't get the wrench that goes with it. I was just knocking these things out with a hammer and a screwdriver, but that was tearing them up, and I could feel them hanging up on my work pieces that I was putting through here. Alright, I'm going to use the old blue tape and super glue trick to do this. And I'm just going to set them side by side. That way I get the tape in the right places. Goofy phone. Alright, now, time to take this over here. Run it through the pattern maker here. Okay guys, the camera shut off, but there's one half of it done before I ran out of nails. So I'm gonna run out here to the truck and grab some more nails and see if we can't get this thing finished up. I gotta clean all this glue off of it before it gets too dry, but I definitely don't want that holding me out. Of course, I can always chisel it off later. I'll be right back. Okay, so I almost made the mistake of not making a template to make my template. We're going to get started on that. I have to make a template to make a template, which is crazy. Which we'll cut out of that, which I almost made the mistake of cutting anyway. Alright, now we'll take that to the bandsaw and cut that out. And we'll use that as our piece to make our templates. Should be a slightly bigger radius by whatever the thickness of our bent wood piece is that we're going to do. And looking at that, that ought to work. This end I'm going to have to do solid. So I'll have to cut something down here because I want to put a hinge here so that when I get ready to start bending, I'm going to put this block here. Actually, it'll be that way. I don't even think this is the block. Yeah, it is. That's it. Because that's where I want my wood to start. I'm going to put a hinge here on the back so that this will open up. So it'll open up like so. And when I got the wood steamed, I can just squeeze this back together. And I'm thinking about cutting up one of my ratchet straps and going around and putting a ratchet strap with a small strap on it here to pull that into place. Because literally, you only get minutes, and I mean minutes, to get this being done. Now, I'm not going to glue them the first time. I'm going to get them in there, steamed, get it clamped down, and then let that dry. Probably going to take 24 hours or more for it to dry. But then I'll pull it back out. I'll pull it back out of this jig, and I'll glue it and then put it back in the jig and reclamp it. But before I do all that, I'll probably cover this in air conditioner tape or something like that to keep my wood from sticking to it. After a brutal 2-round fight, I actually won. Had to go to the first aid kit. I hit my finger with that hammer just now. Setting the nails. Thinking about that air compressor out there. That's too tight. I had to go to the first aid kit and get some black tape. Ladies and gentlemen, a jig for bending the neck for a guitar hanger or guitar holder or whatever you want to call it. I'm putting a wall hanger on the neck, so it's just going to hang above the floor. I know y'all have seen them before, but probably not one that looks like a guitar, like somebody stepped on the neck of it and bent it around and hung a guitar on it. That's what I'm going for here. Yeah, that looks better. Much better. All right, now we can start wetting and bending wood. One more thing to do, because I forgot I wanted to put a hinge on this. The hinge is going to make it a lot easier. And I got to get this piece on to attach a hinge to, but it's also going to be a stop. It's going to stop the wood in this jig where I need it to stop at. So it's going to go right there. All right, we got the pattern built, the whatever you want to call this. Not sure. But anyway, that's done. Steam box is built. We're gonna get some wood in here and get this thing steaming and see can we get it into the jig and get this thing all tightened down, because it's gonna have to dry for a day or two in the jig. Then I got to pull it back out of the jig, glue it all together and put it back in the jig, then leave it for another day. So we got to hurry up and get this going so we can get this done. All right, there it is, all in the steamer. We're gonna get everything set up, get this thing filled up with water, and get this thing steaming. All right, it's been steaming now for about an hour, which is probably long enough, but it's oak. So we're gonna let it steam for a little extra, especially since I left it kind of thick. See if it'll get a little softer. I got this clamped down to the table to be able to press this up against. And I built this hinge on the end out of plumber's tape, so we can just hinge it in there, then use brute force to close it up around it, and then clamp it, and then we'll let it sit. So I think this is gonna work. Oh, and by the way, when you're steaming this stuff, it kind of smells like peanuts. Not too bad. All right, it's been 2 hours. Time to try to get this stuff in the jig. See what happens. Got it all in there and clamped. Now it's just a matter of waiting a day or two for it to dry, taking it back out. All right, it's been 4 days. 2 days in this jig drying. I pulled it out, glued it up, and put it back in there. And now it's been 2 days and we're gonna take it out today. I'm gonna take it out and get it sanded up. I already know I've got one problem I ran into with the steam box, and not sure why, but everything come out of there with this black mold on it. So gotta figure that out. But I got an idea how to get rid of it. So there it is. It's gonna go on the guitar. Let me grab that. There's the guitar. It's gonna be inset into the guitar like so. And it's gonna have the guitar hanger up here like so. So now what I gotta do is get this sanded down, plus we're gonna build a head for it. But I gotta get this sanded down, get it trimmed up, get it cleaned up, and get all of this, I don't know if y'all can see that, but get all of this out of there. So I'm gonna get started on that, and we'll get back with you guys in just a little bit. All right, pulled it out of the jig, went outside and I sprayed it with some bleach. Found that when I started sanding. Didn't notice it before until I started sanding. That was where a screw had been in there and pulled out years ago, and just so happens it was right there on the side and was full of sawdust from me making the original cuts, I guess. So anyway, it cleaned up really nice. This is pretty white oak. Now we'll get to doing some. I got an idea. I think I'm gonna try to use this brand new CBM wheel to get that little slight curve I want to put on this end of it here. We'll get to work with this rasp. With my marking knife all the way around it, there and there. Then here, I want to make this transition a little smoother from here down to here. I think I'm just gonna come back to here and kind of drop down and just start rounding it off. Hopefully something similar to this radius, but it doesn't have to be. Just gonna go to where I see something in my eye. I'm gonna make a few marks and figure that out. But first we're gonna mark this in, and I'll have to get this piece routed down into this piece at whatever this depth is here, so that we can get these two attached together next. Okay, so I went and got a different marking knife because this one just doesn't want to ride up like that other one did. Plus this one I know is sharp. Sharpened it myself. Ooh, it is hot out here in this shop. I wonder what it says. Ooh, 91 degrees. Y'all don't believe me. 91 degrees with 48% humidity out here. The low in the last 24 hours was 82 in this shop. So, and that's with the ACs running. It's hot in the south. Oh yeah, y'all can see that. you can see where I went too far as well. And then you can see where I chiseled that piece off there. But we got to get a router, and we got to get this routed out as close to that line as possible, and then clean the rest of it up. So that's our next project. Alright, so we've got it routed a little of the way in and fitting in there pretty decent. Got kind of a gap right there on that white side, but I think I can fix that. And I also messed up right there with the router and took that out like a dummy. Couldn't see my lines, but we'll get the rest of it routed even deeper. I think I know a way to fix that too. Alright, I set the piece up here to see where the curve starts. So we're not bad yet. Where the curve starts, all of this hits flat on this end, and I'm probably going to sand it just a little bit flatter, but probably not much. So we're going to go a little bit deeper here. It's going to step down here and then step down here again, and we're going to keep going until we can get this into a radius, the shape of the bottom of this, so that it matches and fits in there good and tight, and then we can radius this to where it matches the back of this, and that everything looks like one flowing curve when we're done. Alright, I've got it where I want it, and I've determined my lines that I want to carve out here. So I'm going to go from here back to here, and then I'm going to go on an angle from here over to here, and then down to here. Just kind of rounding this over. So I'm going to cut it off on this rough cut line I did here at the bandsaw, and then I'm going to take that flat wheel and grind all of that down to where I need it to be. Alright, we're going to get started on that now. What I did was I went ahead and established both ends, this end and this end, and now I'm just going to work these two, this in the middle right here, until I get these two ends to join together into something that I can sand into something I like. Alright, I put the guitar on here to find out exactly where I wanted it to be and how high, and I determined that this right here is the height I want. So I'm going to make that right there. I'm going to draw that on there. And I'm going to try to make this spot right here where it transitions. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. But yeah. This spot right here where it transition into the headpiece. So I'm going to draw that out real quick. And probably just going to draw it on something about this wide, so that I can, that'll be the same width as this piece here, and then we'll just go back to the same. But I'm going to do it out of the curly maple so that it looks a little better, and then I'm going to build a little something special to go on top of that I think everybody will like. Let's see. Okay, I brought a guitar out here, but I should just be able to take that and transition it. and then take this one and go to hard right, like so. And then I could come, let's see, here. Then I can do, they don't really circle around that much. Then I could go in a little bit. Then I'll take a straight edge. I don't really have one. Oh well. Actually, just leave it straight, just like that. And then just do this. I think that'll look just fine right there. Maybe I could draw that circle a little better. Yeah, I'm gonna erase that top. I'm gonna erase that. I like the rest of it, but I'm gonna redo that. It's gonna be more of a more like that. I don't know, just sitting here looking at that guitar, I think I might should just trace the head of that guitar, see how close I am. Here's a piece we'll make it out of right here. Boy, look at that. The Woodyard wrote save on it. And I seen it leaning up against the wall over there, and they always steal the good stuff. You know, they don't never want us to get the good ones, so I've been drew all over this. So they pick out the ones they want when they come in, because you got guys in there in the wood shop, the store down here in Mobile. They do woodwork too. I see them at the craft shows and stuff, and they'll pick these pieces out and hide them in the store and buy them before they leave or whatever. Anyway, I managed to sneak this one out of there. This is what I made the stripe in the piece here with. I got another one up there on top of the shelf, a bigger piece that didn't come off of this one, but it doesn't have this side right here with the big grain, which I really like because it's got a lot of figure in it. So I think I'm going to use this side because it's got more figure. All right, I'm going to take a tape measure and measure how big this headstock is over here. But no, actually no. I'm just going to freehand one, and that's going to be it. All right. Now, clamp them together. That's how it's going to come together with a half joint there. So, still got to sand this all up because it looks terrible, but that's okay. That shouldn't be bad at all. It needs rounding over here some anyway. So, I'm going to fix that right now. Out of a piece of wood. I'm not gonna worry too much about these other ones. I can get them on the big sander over there. And you know, you won't never even see either one of them flares in this unless you look really close. And I mean really, really, really close on either side. But it will be there. And it will make me feel better knowing there's a detail on there that somebody might find way later on down the road. That's bad. Oh well, we'll transfer our marks over to this other side so we know that we can't go past so far there. And that's for where it meets the top part. I think I'm gonna go with a bigger round over to try to fix that. Don't think it's gonna hurt much if I go just a little bit bigger, but then again, I may should just sand it out with that grinder wheel over there and see what I can do with it. Maybe maybe give this thing a little shape and just cut it out there. Should be about where the other guitar would sit on here. I'm not going to lose any other strength in this thing, man. This thing is pretty stiff. It's got to come down to about right there. So, I think that's what I'm going to do to get that out of there. And that just gives it one more element of whatever. And I'm probably going to have to cut that out with a jigsaw, maybe? I don't know. I don't know if I can do that on the bandsaw or not. That sucks though, guys. That whole piece blew out. Let me go see if I can figure out how to fix this. I'll be right back. Alright, I figured it out. I cut it like this. So it actually feels more like a guitar neck now anyway. Kind of looks like one, and that's about where the guitar is going to hang, is here and here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get these two pieces glued up together. I got that fitting good and tight there. Got that done. I'm going to have to route this after I put it together. I'm going to have to route this with my little handheld. Put the handheld in the vise over there, and we'll run it through the little handheld after it's all glued up, but we're gonna get that glued up now. My bad. Anyway, we're gonna get that glued up now, and that'll be about all I can do today. It's done got, I don't know, pretty late. My wife's probably done cooked and probably done ate and maybe even done went to bed as far as I know. If not, she's in there asleep in her recliner, that's for sure. So I'm gonna get this in place and get it glued up. We can do all the finish sanding and all of that to all of these parts and pieces once we get everything good and dry. Now what I'm gonna do, when I used to work in the cabinet shop, my boss man used to make us wait a few minutes, let this glue get tacky, and I tell you, well, actually either way it doesn't matter. I've never had anything come apart with this goofy glue, so even when I put it on my pants, I'm gonna put that right there for a minute. And I want to get some glue on this side because I want to make sure this thing touches in every possible place it possibly can. Like on that end, I need glue too, you know? get back on it tomorrow. Just so everybody can get a perspective of what's going on here. This thing's nice. It's got some really nice curves to it. Really nice. It's not glued, it's just standing up there all by itself. Okay, so what I've done here is set my router up in my vise because I can't run this through my router table. But what I want to do is make the back of this actually feel like a guitar, because that's right about where you'll grab it when you want to pick it up. So what we're going to do is run this through there 2 or 3 times to get to the height we want. Some of it looks like we're going to have to work in by hand. This last little bit in this curve right here, I'll have to work in by hand, but I think that'll be fine. Okay, so after hours of sanding, the flaws that I got in there, instead of trying to hide them, I think I'm just going to accent them. As you can see, we ended up with a seamless transition between the pieces here. Our hanger is going to go right below this here. Then up here we're going to build a pick box right up here out of walnut. It's going to sit right in the middle that'll hold, I don't know, 7, 8 picks. I even thought about putting copper across there or making it look like it was broke all the way across, but I think I'm just going to do that and let it highlight itself and this here, and once that's sanded down, we're going to join it to that over there. Then we're going to sand the two together again. And don't get me wrong, guys, if y'all decide to do a project like this, plan on spending hours and hours and hours sanding. So I'm going to get back to sanding again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, until I get this thing like I want it. We're going to put it all together, and this thing's going to turn out really nice, guys. Can't wait to get finished, get this video posted so y'all can see it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want to see more like this, just let me know, because I'm wanting to do a bent wood table just to see how good I am. I know I'm probably jumping one step ahead of myself here by doing this, but I just can't wait. I've got to glue this thing together, and I've got to do it now. Just too impatient. I've got to see it all together. I've seen it all together with clamps on it and all of that, but I've got to see it all together without clamps and without any other thing else, and I've just got to see it. All glued up. We'll wait on that to dry, and we'll come back out and check on it here in a little bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, after let's see, I think this is day 3 now of glue ups and sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding to get this thing down to, well, I'm just now at 150. Now I got to go back and do it again. I'm going to do it at 220 and then 320, and then we're going to put the finish on it. But I've decided that I want to take 2 walnut dowels and put right here. It's structurally not going to need it. It's strong enough, but I think just for looks, I want to put them there. So I'm going to mark that out real quick. Here we go. Now it's another, let that dry. I think right now we can move on. What I want to do is take 4 of these and put them in there. They're going to be cut off flush, but I still want to do 4 of them. I turned a frisbee for a friend of mine. There we are. That was going up to Bud Hill, Tennessee to play disc golf up there and throw a charity event. And I got an order for 6 more of them. All right, back on it. I've been working on this thing off and on for probably about 2 weeks now. And hopefully today's the day that we can put the final sanding on it. Get some of these little bit not as smooth areas tightened up. And actually get a finish on this thing today. And get this thing looking good. And I'll show y'all what it's going, how it's going to work when we're done. I got a bass and a guitar we're going to hang from here and check out and see how it works and see how everything is, because this is just some sort of conception I come up with one day looking at a guitar. So let's get busy, get some of this sanding done. You'll see I'm down to 220 on the sides. I've got the top here sanded already to 320. So we're gonna just work all of this in by hand. I don't wanna, I'm already down to 180 on it, I think. So it might be 150, but I don't remember. I've got so many hours sanding on this thing, it's crazy. Seems like I've sanded on it forever. Oh yeah, check this out, guys. I don't know if y'all can see that from there, but look at this. So I took a pick and I traced around it like so into a solid block of walnut. Then I did it kind of like a bandsaw box, but I had to cut all of this out by hand and hand sand it. So that fits in there. It should hold about 8 or 10 picks. And we're gonna put this on the top of the guitar stand when we're all done. And I think that's gonna look really good. And, you know, if you wanna pull a pick out and use it, and throw it to the crowd and grab you another one, you're good to go. Okay, I set myself back a few hours again by waiting this long to glue this piece on when I could have done it yesterday. Instead of just sanding and sanding and sanding and all that, I could have sanded that. All right, finally got this thing all sanded down already. Everything's glued up. We're gonna be using this General Finishes hard wax oil. It's mixed up 10 to 1, I believe. That's what we're gonna go with anyway. All right, now we'll come back and buff it in real good. Not bad for an old piece of railroad track or wood from the railroad station, and a piece of walnut that nobody wanted. And there you have it. All right. Now we'll get this drilled out and get this hanger put on it. And that'll be the last thing we gotta do. It ain't going nowhere. You're just bumping it. It ain't going nowhere.